There can be no more transfers at the end of Stage 5. Basically, as soon as that final game in Stage 5 finishes, the roster window is locked and you are going to Champs with that roster. There's quite a few teams that I feel could do with making note of that, and if they want to be competitive, they should be looking to make a change. But which teams and why? Well, I'm going to run you through all of that in this video. This is Reverse Sweep Round 11 presented by USAA Insurance. Let's quickly cover off the top 4, shall we? Atlanta are nuts, whilst Dallas Empire showed a massive amount of potential at Major 4, and the New York Subliners should be back on their feet following the re-arrival of ASIM. Toronto Ultra, on the other hand, have given Europeans something to actually cheer about this year, and quite frankly, are the only side to stop Atlanta FaZe taking a clean sweep at all the majors, so no changes for those 4 sides. Optic then. Well, this is just getting awkward at this point. Do I think that they should make a change? Yes, absolutely. If, and it's a big if, they want to be competitive and go on to win something this year. Do I think they'll actually change anything? No. As much as they're clearly all competitors, you've got some of the best players ever to play the game in that side, you do get the feeling that they're just kind of content with making content and getting a top 4 finish underneath the Optic banner. And the tough part here as well is if they do change someone, who do they take out? Individually, these are all fantastic players, but as a collective, they're just kind of above average, really. I'd say their weakest player over the recent stages has probably been Formal, but if you do go on to drop Mr. Matthew Piper, then who do you replace him with? Who actually improves them? Well, no one that is actually readily available. I mean, here's a wild card, right? Put Scump on an AR. He's spoken about it for a long time, about how he wants to try that at some point, and if it is coming towards the end of his career, maybe now's a good time for it. One idea that I do really like with Optic is something that came up in my interview recently with Nameless, and that was the idea of Optic investing in their backroom staff. Now, I don't know the ins and outs of Optic Chicago, but as far as I'm aware, they have one coach, and that is Sender. And we've already seen from Atlanta FaZe how much specialist high-level coaches can improve a squad. So why would Optic Chicago not try this? Why would they not try and get someone in, or maybe a couple of people in, who can take over individual bits? I'll do the S&D, I'll do the respawns, I'll work on this part of things. They've probably got people behind the scenes, but I'd love to see them come to the forefront more and be a more active part of Optic Chicago's success and failures. Rocker, they're making a role switch. Priester is going on to the sub. Attach is going on to the AR. Is this going to improve them? I doubt it. I've spoken many times about the relationships that sides need. They need to have a link up between their ARs and the SMGs. And all I can see really is that although Standy and Priester look like they would be a good SMG duo, they're going to be so much faster than Major Maniac or Attach, so much more aggressive on the map, that they risk being one of those sides that gets split in two, something that we've seen even pull apart sides like Atlanta FaZe this year. If anything, I feel this role move will make them better against the weaker teams and worse against the top teams, and that's not fixing any of their problems really, because they're already kind of there in both of those categories. And I don't think that bringing Lamar back into the side, accuracy, sorry, I don't think that that will fix them. That is a sideways move, as we saw when it was accuracy going out and Major Maniac coming in. They haven't changed. I think they do need to change something though in order to become competitive, because currently they're just going to make up the numbers at Champs. So my suggestion here, go and look at a top challenger flex or a top challenger AR player, maybe someone like a Sib, a Gravity, a God RX, all players that I feel could put up a fantastic performance for this side and give them a change, a bit of a dynamic. As I said, they are currently just going to make up the numbers, so could it hurt to change something up? Also, I would love to name some EU players to go into this, but if they apply for a visa now, they might just get one in time for Call of Duty Vanguard. LA Thieves, well, they've picked up John, so I wouldn't recommend any more changes because they're already into an absolute catalog of roster moves that, quite frankly, have seen them go from top 6 down the league, and then they're trying to get back to top 6. It's hard to really say to do more to a side that seems to only move backwards. Maybe this is another backroom staff thing that they need to upgrade and do more about. I know that they have JCap, but I just wonder again, Thieves have a lot of resources. Do they perhaps, instead of investing ridiculous amounts of money in buying out Huke and all these other players that they're transferring around, what about some backroom work? Florida, and god damn, this team is so frustrating. You forever feel like they are one piece away from being a true contender, right? You've got Wake, Skies, and Neptune, who all look fantastic. And the infuriating thing for me is that I feel that if it was Pharaoh who was partnering Neptune, rest in peace, young man, by the way, I do really think that this side could be so so good, so very, very special. For me, Florida are the team that I think can benefit the most from making a swap, and it would be Havoc on the way out. Don't get me wrong, I know that Havoc is okay. I don't think he's one of the worst SMGs in the league or anything like that. I know he brings a lot of the intangibles and a lot of the dirty work. But the reality is that Mutineers are currently the 8th seed at champs. The bottom seed, they will go in losers bracket if we keep the format the same. And in stage 4, they went to 4 game 5s and lost 3 of them. So it's incredibly fine margins. And if you look back at things statistically, Havoc is negative in all modes and considerably beneath the performances of his teammates. I know statistics aren't everything, but when it's such fine margins that they're losing by and there's that much of a gap between him and his teammates, I feel that this is where he becomes the fall guy. Well, who did they pick up? I'm kind of gutted, actually, that they didn't go for John before Thieves got there. I think that would have worked really, really well. Otherwise, you've got maybe some top SMG talent. Decimate was part of the New York side that dumped them out at Major 4. Why not look at him? Or you've got players like Pentagram or a couple of other names that I could drop in here. SMGs that could just give them a chance, really. Don't go and get slacked again. He's not up to this level anymore. And quite frankly, I just think that these guys really could become a contender if they made a swap. I'm going to try another left field suggestion here for Florida, by the way. I'm going to try something. What about approaching London about the idea of loaning in Afro? Now, bear with me a sec. Afro looked fantastic at the major. He's not going to be going to champs because, well, London, and he himself has a lot of room to grow and develop. And I think that this would work for both sides. London gets to send Afro to champs and develop him as an individual and then take him back for next year. Whilst Florida get a young man who's extremely hungry, has a lot of gun skill, and clearly possesses a little extra something that might just see them over the line, at least deeper into the tournament anyway. And as for the bottom 4, well, we're going to assume that the format stays the same and that they're not going to be at champs. So please, go out and do something. Try something. Think of this as a developmental period for next year. Don't just sit there with your same teams looking at you, LA Gorillas, and just relax and see the season out. I understand that Paris might not have the resources to do that, which sucks, but all the same, if they do have an opportunity to perhaps try out a challenger player, then I'd love to see them take it. Seattle, Mr. Nubsy, you claim you are some amateur whisperer, some guy who loves the challengers so much, so why not actually give them a chance? So far, your sides have been some of the most senior in the league. None of them have worked. You've been the whipping boys for 2 years straight. Why not try a challenger out? And I'm not talking about someone who's already been in the league like Decimate. I'm talking about an actual challenger, an up-and-comer that could maybe get you guys some results in Stage 5 anyway. And London are kind of stuck, right? Like, they have that EU brand. They need to pick up EU players. It's already been stretched far enough this year because of COVID. And I don't think that they would want to make the team more than 50% from the NA. So they are kind of stuck. I wouldn't recommend going getting a Zed or a Jerd again. So I don't know. I'd love to be sitting here and saying, go and pick up Bids or Harry or Nasty or Hixie. Give them a try. They are ready to make the step up. And this would be a great period of time where you could get them some reps in, play them through, and then mold them into the side for next year. But the one thing that I'm definitely going to ask for of them is if Florida come knocking because they've seen my video for whatever reason and say, hey, yo, can we borrow Afro for a bit? They go, yes, and then maybe pull in a Zed or a Jerd as like a replacement for a bit and just see out the rest of the season. Because in my opinion, sending a player like Afro out to develop his experience, looking at that raw gun skill that he clearly possesses, can only be a good thing for the Ravens.